Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. We're live on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Delighted to have your company. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and you can also hit the bell as well, and you'll get notifications of all our unique video content. We're delighted you could join us on this Monday to look back over the weekend's Premiership football in Scotland and beyond as well. Some other interesting games to talk about in the company of Alan Ruff, Alison McConnell, Tam McManus and myself, Peter Martin. So lots of messages, and the messages we read out, most of them are coming now from the app, the PLZ Soccer app. If you download the app, you can get into submissions, and if you post it right away, you'll get all the opportunity you need to comment on your favourite team or something that's bugging you. And with that in mind, a guy came up to Gabriel Antoniazzi at Ibrox. Big Rangers fan says, can you give a big shout out to Mark? He watches the show on a regular basis. So there we are, Mark. Thanks for supporting us. We really appreciate it. Andy from Dundee says Charlie Adam was a level above Scott Brown in all reality. I think Scott woke up Sunday fighting the covers in a panic that he was still lost in Charlie's pocket. Great performance from the D to a man. I'm sure Charlie will like that message. Eddie says Dundee finally get their first win of the league campaign just as Big Charlie makes his return from injury. Charlie Adam for the Ballon d'Or. And he's bound to be a cousin of Charlie's. I was just about to say, Jamie from Thailand says the media hype about Gerrard and Newcastle followed by criticism that he's not good enough. It was never a goer for reasons that are nothing to do with Gerrard. I'm surprised that no one in the media has mentioned that no English manager has ever won the Premiership since it began in 1992. Quite embarrassing, really, considering two Scots have. And Thomas from the Philippines says, just to you, Ruffy, we were on about boxing the other day there, and he said, tell Tam, see if he can find Walter McGowan from his hometown in Hamilton in the Trocadero in a fight against a Mexican guy in the World Championship in 1967-68. Apparently it's on YouTube. And he says, you'll remember it, there used to be the Double J, Jimmy Johnson's pub in Hamilton, where the fight was. Do you remember that?
Yeah. And wee Walter McGowan was a lovely wee guy. He used to play in all the wee pro-am golf tournaments.
Yeah.
Aye, it was really nice.
And the last one, and I'm reading this out because I think it deserves, every now and then, there are people who just don't like you no matter what you do. Is that fair,
I get
Tam?
slaughtered again.
Well, it's not you, it's me.
Oh, that's
Yeah, that's all
You
right.
do it then.
Paul Mason says to me, says, I love the show. Tam is great. Are you happy with that? Tam is great. Ruffy's even better, right? Which is good. It's a good start, Ali, isn't it? You know where this is going.
I've got a fair English.
You can. Charlie pretty much talks rubbish. I've obviously changed the words that he's used there. He needs to take the blinkers off. But you, Peter, you didn't half love yourself. He says you think your opinion has to be the correct one every time. How Ruffy hasn't knocked you out, beggars. So there we are. And this is obviously because of the Friday when Ruffy doesn't trust the police or anybody, you know, the conspiracy theorist Ruffy, when we're all looking on in amazement at it. Anyway, lots to talk about. The sack race, as ever, managers under real pressure. We've got 2 or 3 names in mind. I wonder if you can guess who they are. Also, I'd just like to mention one other little point, Ruffy. Dan Barden, he's the Norwich goalkeeper. He's diagnosed with testicular cancer. He's 20 years of age. He's on loan at the moment at Livingston. He's going to be taking a break from football. And all I would say, I think from everybody on the football show, I think the lessons of Alan Stubbs, Ruffy, hopefully, fingers crossed, he gets the all clear as he'll go through the treatment and then back playing football.
Yeah, well, we're told the earlier the better. And if he's only 20, he's got a great chance. And I'm sure he'll have the proper people run about him, you know, and hopefully it gets better.
Yeah, absolutely. All our best wishes from everyone on the football show to Dan. What about the weekend's Premiership results? Well, I'll tell you, we all had an absolute nightmare. Anybody who predicted these results, here are the full-time scores from Saturday when all 6 matches were played. Livingston defeating St Johnstone 3-0 in Perth. Okay, that gives you an indication of the way it was going. St Mirren winning 3-2 on the road at Ross County. Celtic comfortable enough against Motherwell. Rangers looked as if they were going to get all 3 points until, of course, Craig Halkett had something else to say about it and got the equaliser. Hibs, absolutely murder, says Tam McManus. 3-0 Dundee United. And then again, we were speculating about it on Friday when the master, the midfield maestro, for Dundee. Charlie Adam orchestrates a 2-1 win over Aberdeen. We'll be talking about that. Incredible results. Give us your thoughts on it. So, Rangers won, Hearts won. The first one, Ruffy. Hearts left it late. In the end, maybe I think people are looking at Alan McGregor's howler, but he made a couple of great saves prior to it, but this one cost them.
Yeah, again, I think both goalkeepers were absolutely superb, some of the saves they were making, but Alan will know it was a mistake. If a high calibre goalkeeper like him, you don't come out and try and punch something when you can catch it. It was just an error, and all goalkeepers make them. Unfortunately for him, it was in the 90th minute, and it was so important for his team. But in the whole, Rangers had the most chances. I don't think we can get away from that. In the first half, there was just shot after shot. Craig Gordon pulling off saves left, right and centre. But as the game went on, Hearts started finding their feet, and they had chances as well. So, in the whole, I think the draw was a correct score.
Yeah, this is what Steven Gerrard had to say after the match. I'm frustrated with the outcome because I feel we've done enough to win the game. In the first half we were outstanding, but you need to get the second and third goal. In the second half I don't think we came out with the same intent or urgency. The headlines will be about how he should have dealt with the cross, but I think we've stitched Alan McGregor up because we haven't scored the second, third and fourth goals. So clearly there, Alison, Steven Gerrard not happy with the front line. He felt as if they had contributed more, it wouldn't be about Alan McGregor's mistake.
I think it's a very fair point to make. I think when you control a game like that, you have to take your chances, you have to be clinical, you have to finish teams off. I think 1-0 is just so precarious as a scoreline because you know that an error at any point can peg you straight back, and it's maybe not reflective of the dominancy that you've enjoyed. And I absolutely took his point. I think it was fair enough.
Yeah, few contentious moments in the game that we'll get to, but Ruffy's highlighted the goalkeepers, but Lundstrom's goal was an absolute peach, wasn't it?
Yeah, fantastic goal. Edge of the box, curled it. Craig Gordon got a hand to it but couldn't keep it out. And you know, watching the highlights, Rangers should have had the game tied up in the first half. You know, Morelos misses an absolute sitter, you know, open goal. You know, and I think if it goes to 2-0, the game's done. But they couldn't get that second goal, and doesn't matter who you are, if you're only 1-0 down or a goal down, you get in that last 5-10 minutes, you have a goal, you start throwing the kitchen sink at it, and that's what Hearts done. And they got a wee bit of a break. McGregor doesn't make many mistakes, but he came out and he flapped at it, and it landed in Halkett's head, and they got themselves a point to stay unbeaten, so Hearts will be delighted. But I think Rangers need to be more clinical in the final third.
Yeah, to a contentious moment when maybe Rangers were lucky to have 11 men on the park, Ruffy, because I thought the tackle from Joe Aribo on Cameron Devlin was a red card. I know that usually prompts everybody to start steaming in and giving you absolute pelters, but you'll get opinions on this programme. I thought he was a lucky man to stay in the park.
Yeah, again, it's how the referee interprets it. You know, we saw a few like that, you know, and some referees just in a split second decide it's a red card. I don't think it was a red card. I thought it was late, but a yellow card for me.
Yeah, Jim Ross says, great show guys. I don't think Joe Aribo meant the tackle, but it's a clear red. Overall, it was a good game. Red or yellow?
It's a red for me. I think we had this discussion a fortnight ago or so after the Ryan Porteous incident. I thought it was over the top with the ball. I thought he was lucky to get away with it. For me, it was an unambiguous red.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying, you know, just out of curiosity, red for you or what, a yellow?
I thought it was a yellow. I don't think it was a red because I think he's took a bad touch and he's tried to win the ball. But I didn't think the Porteous one was a red card either.
Yeah. So what do you know about reds and yellows?
I don't know anything really. So I didn't think either a red card.
Right, okay. Thank God he's not a referee, Ali. Everybody would still be on the park absolutely battering each other.
Off.
Yeah, exactly. The one thing that I think a lot of Rangers fans have mentioned here, you know, is the fact that not playing at their best, still top of the league, Tam.
Yeah, but listen, that's the thing. You know, Rangers keep grinding results out. Obviously, they'll be disappointed to lose that goal, but they're still top of the league. Celtic will be, and the supporters will be happy. You know, they've closed the gap. You know, a good result at Motherwell, but you know, the Rangers just keep grinding it out. And you're looking at the next 5 league fixtures there. I can see that on your screen: St Mirren, Aberdeen, Motherwell, Ross County, Livingston for Rangers. So there's a real opportunity for Rangers to go and really stretch that lead.
Yeah, you always seem to, you know, and I think it's because obviously I usually put the running order reverse script. You always seem to be so informed, and then I realised, quite early on that anything that is involving foresight is because you're reading it.
Yes, I like your stats are good there, Peter.
But it does make a good point, because there are a few tests on the road for Rangers now as well.
Yeah, but we saw against Hearts, they're creating chances, and if you're creating chances, eventually they hit the back of the net, and the teams that are coming up have been losing goals, so you would fancy Rangers to beat them, and I agree with Tam, that I can't see many, adverse results for them.
For Rangers?
Yeah.
Do you think they'll start to go on that consistent run that they did last season? I mean, they were unbeaten.
No, because there'll be other teams, hit a bit of form, and they'll have to go away. The away games will be the hard ones, the Hibs, the Hearts, and even I would throw Aberdeen into that as well. So these games in particular, you read it, I think Rangers would think they would win them.
Yeah, and let's not forget about the team that managed to get the point at Ibrox. We think Hearts deserve a bit of credit from this, and so does Robbie Nielsen.
I thought we came here and we went toe to toe with the champions, and they created chances, we created chances, and I was just delighted with the players. I thought, showed brilliant character. Periods in the game where we had to fight, periods in the game where we were in total control as well. So it was we wanted to come here and win, but worst case scenario we'll take a point. They're a real good group, still undefeated, but every time we continue that, more teams are going to come after us, we're the team to hunt down there, and we need to win next week.
Interesting point from him. We are the team to hunt down now, says Robbie Nielsen.
I think it's a confident show, and I think given the start to the season, they're right to be confident. They've had an impressive start to the campaign. I don't think many of us would have predicted it. I thought it was a fairly average season for them last year, albeit that they got promoted. But I think realistically speaking, you get post-Christmas, and I think the table will look very familiar.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to pick you up on this point, because I was thinking about it today, Tam. This might be out of left field, but we all know that James Anderson is part of Hearts board, and he has been a major philanthropist in Scottish football. If I was James Anderson and I had all that money and I was a Jambo, Tam, I would look at that league and think to myself, well, Rangers are not playing well, they're not really at their best. Celtic are going through a transition. We're up the top with a squad that, is doing okay. Hold on, that's the Amazon man delivering your strips. It's a situation where if I throw 2 or 3 million at it, have a go.
You need to throw me on that, Peter. You need to throw me on that.
How much would it take?
10.
10 million?
At least.
10 million?
To challenge Rangers to win the league.
Yeah?
I think it would take...
Well, he's got 10 million. He's got more than 10 million.
Does he?
Loose change. Absolutely. He's loaded.
Well, you need to have deep pockets. If you're going to go and really have a go and challenge for the league title...
You only need 6 months to have a go in it. If they could stay at that top end, if I was him... I'm just talking about he's got the money. If I was him, and I think a once-in-a-lifetime chance to say I've been part of a board to see Hearts win the league, because I don't think they'll win the league. But everybody's, we always get it. We do it, Ali, because that's the nature of journalism. You go, can Hearts win the title early on?
You need to throw 10 million at it. You need to spend a fortune in January. I think if you're still, listen, if Hearts are within 3 or 4 points in January, then you maybe see them having a right go. But 2 million is needing a lot deeper pockets than that, Peter, for me.
Yeah, Ruffy, I mean, he does have deep pockets. He does have the collateral to actually go and do 10 million, but I'm not saying you do that, but I'm just saying from a Hearts point of view, I know a lot of my mates are Hearts fans, and they would look and say, come on, throw it at it, go for it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime chance.
But there's not just him with money, there's a lot of people at Hearts got money. And Budge's got money. There's other backers that got money.
30 million at the end as well.
And you've got the supporters who are piling their money in. So if it was a thought in anybody's head, it's there to be done. I don't think they'd win the league. I think at best, at the end of the season, splitting the Old Firm would be an almighty bonus for them.
Even if you had a right good tilt at it in January?
I think if they had the right good tilt at it in January, they could maybe split the Old Firm.
Yeah.
The best, I think that's the best they could get. I don't think they'd win it.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen.
Ali, I'd hate to be going out. I'd hate to go out for a pint of lager with you in a pub when we could just dream of things like this.
No.
There's
a reason why he's a businessman, and it's because you invest your money sensibly. Investing that kind of money in football clubs without a guaranteed return. It just doesn't happen. It's not a
Ali, he knows
plausible
that.
solution.
People who invest in football clubs know that anyway. He's a multi-millionaire who's retired. He's on boards now just for the fun of it.
Yeah, but he's not going to say in January Hearts are going to spend £10 million and try and challenge for the title. It won't happen.
No, we know that, but it would be great if it did.
But I also think it goes deeper than that. I think winning the league's about resources. It's about having the squad that's capable of coping over the long period of the campaign. But it's also about belief. There's also a mental aspect to it that goes. I think you need to find that from somewhere. I don't know that you can always buy it, and I'm thinking here of Leicester right enough while I'm speaking.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Leicester a few seasons ago, but I think you need other aspects other than just going out and spending money in January and piecing together a team that can challenge over 5 months in.
Yeah, okay. Well, that dream for some of my Jambo mates, I'm sorry, I tried my best. Tam's not having it, Ruffy's not, Ali's not having it. There goes the 10 million. I'll just phone her. Hello, James, don't bother.
No, but we'll be getting my phone in January. It's we're the B team.
Absolutely. Excuse me. Okay. Hearts' next 5 league fixtures: Dundee, St Johnstone, Aberdeen, Dundee United and Motherwell. So I think all winnable games, to be perfectly honest with you. Rangers, incidentally, are in action on Thursday against Brøndby. We'll discuss that a little later on in the week and look ahead to that. Celtic in action tomorrow against Ferencváros. Celtic, in the end, it was comfortable, Tam.
Yeah, it was. Obviously, I've never seen the game, but I've seen the highlights and 2 great goals. You know, great goal from Jota, great move from Celtic. And by all accounts, he defended well as well. You know, kept a clean sheet, which I think is a huge bonus for Celtic. I think that's, you know, when you start keeping clean sheets, it gives you momentum at the back defensively. And I don't think there's any doubt that Celtic will always score goals the way they play, how open they are. But can they start keeping 2, 3, 4 clean sheets in a row? And that's a good start. Away to Motherwell was a tough game, and Rangers losing that last-minute goal. You know, they closed the gap to I think 4 points now. So it was interesting to read, to listen to Postecoglou after the game talking about. I thought the league campaign, the league was done.
Well, he deserves that line, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he does. I had a chuckle because everybody's been writing Celtic off, myself included. But 4 points, it's not a big gap, and if they can stay in contention whilst starting to get some of their bigger players back, then you never know.
Yeah. Before we hear from the Celtic manager, Ruffy, if we're going to give opinions on certain contentious issues, I thought it was a stonewall penalty. I thought Bolingoli handled it, and Motherwell should have had a penalty.
Yeah, his hand was out there, you know, and
he's changed the direction of the ball.
Yeah, it's not going towards the goal, but it's going away from it.
What does that matter?
It doesn't matter. That's what I'm saying. The referee.
Is that something? Are you going to involve the police in this answer?
No. I'm saying that if it was stopping the ball going towards the goal, I think you would tend to give it more.
Yeah.
I think it's just because it's a sort of he's not put his hand out there intentionally. It's hit off it. But I've seen worse given. You know, there was another one at the weekend. I can't remember who it was. Somebody just shoved an elbow at. I think it was in the Rangers game. I think it was the Hearts defender sort of shooting the ball, hit him there.
Yeah.
And we get given a penalty against us at Wraith Rovers for the identical thing. So the referees see it all differently. They interpret it differently, and that's why we're getting all these. You know, is it not? But I think if I was in the Motherwell bench, I'd be shouting for a penalty.
Yeah, absolutely. If anything, I mean, Willie Collum was replaced by a 4th official because he picked up an injury, so he had to be replaced. The 4th official then took over in the match. But nevertheless, these type of things can annoy the opposition fans, especially when it's against the bigger clubs.
Yeah, I think it was a justifiable shout. When I watched it back, I did think it was a penalty. I thought Celtic were fairly relaxed in the game. I didn't think Motherwell asked too many questions of them defensively. And saying that, I don't think Joe Hart had a save to make, other than there was a kind of moment of anxiety in the opening stages. Again, Celtic just passing it about at the back. He had one kind of wee sidestep. But Motherwell never really got in behind Celtic in a way I thought they might have. And I thought Celtic overall, I thought 2-0 was a fairly accurate reflection of their dominancy in the game.
Yeah, no surprise, the Motherwell manager, when losing a game by 2-0, looks at the point that might have changed the direction of the game. That penalty still irks him.
All I can say is we don't get them. We should have had one a few weeks ago at Ibrox. We should have had one here, blatant. I remember last year at Aberdeen when there was a blatant one where the players made the best save of the game. We don't get them. It's simple as, and it's easy to give them. We've had 3 against us. We haven't had the penalties that we should have. And then, you know what I mean? I would. I know I've been asked, so I'm answering the question. But I'm sure when people see it, they will see what I've seen.
Well, he's not a happy man with it, and fairly justified. As far as Celtic are concerned, they've conceded the second fewest goals with 6 so far, and the goals that they have scored, Tam, 21 goals in 9 games so far, scored the most.
Yeah, that doesn't. The stat about conceding surprised me a little bit. I think Celtic have lost a lot of their goals in Europe. And they're coming up against, no disrespect, coming up against better sides. But you know, there's no surprising that they're the top scorers because the way they play, they're very open. They play with the wide men, and you know, Turnbull and Rogic in there behind them. So they're very, very attack minded. But as I said, if you can start keeping some clean sheets at the back, then a wee bit of momentum can start to build for Celtic.
Yeah, St Johnstone, Livingston, Hibs, Dundee and Aberdeen, Ruffy, the next 5 fixtures for Celtic, which suggests to me now that he has a settled side, I could see them going on a run.
Yeah, the players are sort of getting drip fed into the team. You know, people are now appearing and getting 20 minutes, half an hour. I just think midfield to front, they're so exciting to watch. You know, if the fullbacks can get the ball into the midfield, it's just so much pace going forward. And what a goal for Turnbull. Unbelievable. It just shows you how good the strike was when the goalkeeper never even moved. The ball was all over the place. And they look as if once they get, as Tam says, once they get the ball wide, if they've got movement in the middle, they're going to score goals.
Yeah, well, the pass from Rogic to Jota for the first goal was absolutely magnificent as well. But if I'm saying that they could go on a run, I don't see the run starting tomorrow, Ali, because I can see Ferencvaros winning at Celtic Park.
I think it'll be a tough game for Celtic. I think was that 14 months, 15 months since they last met in the Champions League qualifier. It was a game that really was a catalyst for the unravelling at Celtic last season. It was a game when Neil Lennon then came out and said that there were players at the club that he didn't think had the mindset to be there, and it just seemed to shine a light on the unrest that was there. I think both sides have changed managers since then. I think there's obviously been a whole host of new players. I think Ferencvaros, I think their transitions maybe have been a bit smoother. But I think they're capable of causing problems. I think they've got decent players. There's some pretty strong internationals in there. They're an exciting team to watch. I think they've obviously got Champions League experience from being in the group stages last term. I think it'll be a difficult night for Celtic.
Yeah, and it's a strange kick-off time as well, 3:30. This is because of obviously COP26, and they want this game done and dusted and out of the way. Nevertheless, Ange Postecoglou realises, because of the start they've had in the Europa League, this is a must-win.
You know, it's a game we've got to win if we want to keep our hopes alive. You know, obviously the other two sides in the group have won their 2 opening games, so you know you kind of know that you know if we're going to bridge that gap, we've got to win our games that we've got remaining, and particularly the 2 games at home we have, and starting tomorrow. And so you kind of know the significance of tomorrow's game within the context of us wanting to progress. So no shying away from that. We need a win tomorrow.
Yeah, I can't see them get it, Tam.
No, I think it's a must-win game. I think when you look at the top 2 in that league, they've got to go and get a result. They've got to go and beat Ferencvaros. I think it'll be a draw.
Yeah, I'm going for a draw as well. I think Celtic are a wee bit better than the last European game, and if they don't concede, I think they could get a draw.
Yeah, okay. I don't know why you're smiling. I better not argue with you, because Paul Mason will be on to absolutely hammer me again.
Bodyguard.
But I think Ferencvaros will win the game 2-1, because I think Celtic have still got a bit to go to sort out that back line, Ali.
I agree. I think they're still susceptible defensively. I fancy them to win actually tomorrow night. I think they might get a result just because they need to. I think they might come out maybe 2-1 in front, but I don't see a clean sheet.
Okay. Now we're on to a game which, again, Tam's sitting here in the studio. Ruffy, Ali and myself are watching on because Tam's mate is obviously Stephen Glass. But what we have done, Ruffy, is we chipped in with a fair bit of money and we've put 3 or 4 medical people and security guards outside Andrew Shiney's house because since he's joined our team, Aberdeen, he is a jinx. Aberdeen can't win a game. Sometimes they can't even score a goal. I mean, I'm really worried about him now. How he could smile on our programme, I'll never know. But let's cut to the chase before we get his thoughts on it. Dundee 2, Aberdeen 1. And, you know, Charlie did mention the boys were right up for it. He was in the middle of the park, I think, if memory serves me, nutmeg Scott Brown twice in the game. And literally, you know, everybody was singing his praises.
Yeah, we sat with him all week. He had the flu all week, right up until Friday.
He had the cold. I mean, Tam, you know that.
Yeah, he was sniffing, and we were looking at him. Every time we asked him, "Are you playing at the weekend?" There wasn't a definitive of yeah, but he was so determined to play, whether he had the cold or not. And that just shows you, you know, that he went out there and stamped his authority, obviously with Lee Griffiths. But going 2 goals up, you know, I thought when Aberdeen had got their goal to get them back into the game, there might have been a wee bit of fight there, but there's a lot of heads going down there. They've got 2 young boys at fullbacks, 2 really, really good fullbacks. And that affects you when you're young and you're on that kind of run. So you're looking for the Scott Browns, you're looking for the experienced players, you know, and a lot of them just aren't doing it.
Yeah, okay. Let's speak to our reporter in the Northeast, Andrew Shiney. Andrew, I'm going to be absolutely blunt with you on this. We have 3 names written down that we think are the managers who are under the biggest amount of pressure for the sack. One of them is the red-hot favourite at 1-20, which is Steve Bruce. The other one is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And the third one is Stephen Glass. Is he under real pressure now, Andrew?
He has to be under pressure after that performance. It was awful.
Andrew, could you check the cable? Could you check the cable on your mic again? And what we'll do is we'll come back to you because I'm almost certain that what you've got to say is absolutely blistering for us. Fingers crossed. Is he under pressure, Andrew?
Absolutely, no question at all about it. It was a really poor performance on Saturday. If we'd had half the fight that Charlie Adams showed, we might have got something out of the game. But at the end of it, I've known Stevens for the last 25 years, since he was a young boy playing at Aberdeen. And it was hard watching him doing his post-match interviews because he looked a beaten man. And all the body language coming from Aberdeen was that they're down there and they just don't know how to get out of it.
Well, the point that you made there, this is Stephen Glass and his comments after that 2-1 defeat.
I totally understand it, and I can see why there might not be a bit of belief there in us as a staff and in that group of players. But that group of players is more than capable of winning football matches. They've shown that they should be. We've been severely punished with opportunities that we give up. But again, the reality of managing football clubs like this and the reality of playing for football clubs like this is you don't last very long if you can't win games.
Yeah, he knows exactly what fate awaits him if he can't turn this around. And Andrew, the thing about it is, this is why I feel he's right behind the 8 ball in this one, because Aberdeen's next 5 league games, Hibs, Rangers, Hearts, Motherwell and Dundee United.
Absolutely. I mean, you're looking at that run of fixtures and the doomsday scenario is that you're going to be bottom of the table by the end of the month. And Aberdeen don't want to be there. Stephen Glass doesn't want to be there. Dave Cormack certainly won't want to be there. He's back across in Scotland. He's come across from the States. Now, is that ominous timing, or is it because he's got other meetings that he has to be there in person for, like stadium development, etc., etc.? But, you know, there was a lot of people who have followed Aberdeen for a long time who are sane voices, not the type of keyboard warriors that you see on Twitter every Saturday night, but a lot of guys who've got their heads screwed on, who know the game, that were just saying, you know, Aberdeen is not an experiment. And that's the way that they're looking at this, to think that Stephen has come in there with no real coaching credentials at a top level. yes, he's coached quite a fair bit in the States, but it's a different level when he comes back to Scotland. I think the biggest problem that they made when they made the appointment was that they didn't, say you must take in an experienced number two, someone who knows the Scottish game inside out. Brian Rice, for example, who is available now, maybe wasn't at the time that Stephen was appointed, but bring in that number two who knows the game inside out and can help you, because you're trying to change a style of play, and you're blending in new players and all the rest. It's a big ask for someone who doesn't have the experience there. But, Stephen talks a good game, but I did feel on Saturday that he was on the point of saying, you know what, this isn't working. I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs because we thought Aberdeen would be up there as one of the clubs that was going to be pushing and taking points off, Celtic and Rangers, Allison. The manager, the buck stops with the manager, but I just wonder, do they then, when is the right time to actually pull the trigger on this one? When, as Andrew mentioned there, they hit the bottom of the table?
I think it just looks so insipid too. I think when you look around at the body language of the players, like Ruffy said, I think they look like a beaten team. I think they look as though they're in free fall now. I think the fact that they had a fairly decent start to the season maybe inoculated them at first to some of the damage when the rot set in, but the longer it goes now, I think the harder it is to get out of it. In terms of time, I don't think anyone gets too much time once it starts to slide like that. I think everyone knows it. I'm sure Stephen Glass will know it himself. I'm sure the senior players within the Aberdeen dressing room will know it. Scott Brown had a similar experience last season in at Celtic in the same kind of environment, different pressure almost, but the same feeling around the club. I think it can be very difficult to reverse it. You could say you get one or two results and it can be the springboard into a recovery, but the problem is just now you just don't see those signs.
Yeah, Andrew, the $64,000 question in all of this, we did mention there the buck stops with the manager, but on the park, where do you see the fault line?
The problem, I think, is that we haven't had a settled defence all season. The loss of Andrew Considine to that injury out in Baku was a massive blow for Aberdeen. You saw on Saturday there, a simple long ball played over the top. David Bates lost, didn't know whether to stick with Lee Griffiths, who's never going to run away from you with the best will in the world. You know that Lee's not going to run away from you, but give him space to drive forward into the box. He will hit the target, and that's exactly what he did. And, the defence is all over the shop at the moment. You've mentioned that we've got two very good young fullbacks who are being encouraged to get forward as much as they can, but that leaves Aberdeen open on the break. Maybe they need to play three at the back with the fullbacks a little bit advanced. But I get the impression that we don't have enough strength and depth or enough trust in players to be able to play three at the back. We were missing Ross McCrory on Saturday, and that meant Declan Gallagher came in. I thought he was solid enough, he was okay, but you just always get the feeling when teams attack Aberdeen that there are goals in the game for them, because we're so porous, so fragile at the back.
Yeah, and just one final word from you, Andrew. We can't let you go without talking about the maestro, the number 26. Charlie was it everything you expected from him? He doesn't do a lot of high intensity running, but boy, when he gets the ball at his feet,
He's got terrific ability. You could see that every time he got the ball about 30 yards from goal, your heart was in your mouth because you thought, he has got the ability to stick this into the top corner, or he'll pick out a really good pass. As you say, he's got others round about him to do his running for him, but I thought, if I didn't realise he'd been ill all week, but if that was Charlie Adam operating at 80% at 35 years old, wow, when he gets up to 100%, what a player Dundee have got in their books there, because I'll tell you what he was. He was a leader. And he made the difference for Dundee, because sadly for Aberdeen, there were no leaders out there on the pitch on Saturday.
Andrew, hopefully we'll talk to you in better circumstances. I feel that could
He's
be...
got Hibs next.
I was just trying to
That's
say,
your only chance you've got Hibs next.
Oh, I was going to say to you, I hope we speak to Andrew in better circumstances, but I feel that could be Christmas when we're giving him a present because this is a long road ahead for him.
45.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, it's listen. Andrew's up there. He's watching the games. He's giving us an honest opinion. You're getting an opinion from a man who's watched great Aberdeen teams down through the years. This one is really under pressure. Whether the manager survives to Christmas is something we'll all discuss regularly each week. Thanks to Andrew Shiney for that. He did pay a compliment to Charlie Adam. Even the manager James McPake was raving about the Dundee midfielder.
To be out for so long. To run a midfield, to spray the ball about the way he did, and to dictate play at times. Outstanding. Look, he's a leader, and he's somebody that players will follow, and we've missed him. Make no mistake about that. We'll no hide behind that. We have missed him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the good thing about it, Ruffy, just as a footnote to that, is a lot of people thought, oh, Charlie Adams coming in there, there's nothing worse than a manager seeing an experienced guy like that and thinking he could be next in line for the job. But Charlie's been adamant throughout. He's there for James, he's there to back him up, he's there to do the best he possibly can to get Dundee away from the bottom end, and he's proving it to the manager.
He's there basically because he's a Dundee boy and his family's there, and he's had a lot of history with his family in the last 4 or 5 years, and he just wants to do well for the people for Dundee, and I think that's a great way to look at it. We know he's got the quality, we know his strengths and his weaknesses, and when you've got a player with that amount of ability, you just surround him with runners, and that's what they've got.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's Aberdeen and Dundee in the predicament. Quite a lot of people are obviously posting messages. I'll try and read out as many of them as possible. This is from David, who says, sad times at the Dons. If the results don't go Aberdeen's way, it's not looking good for Stephen Glass. A club with Aberdeen's history can't afford to drop into the Championship. That's from David in Airdrie, and he's hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I think that's when it'll start to get really critical if Aberdeen drop down into that bottom 2 or 3. They've still got a wee bit of a gap. They've got tough fixtures coming up, but hopefully, I've got a lot of respect for Stephen. He's my pal, and I hope he starts to get results. But he's no daft. He's no immune. You know, he's been a player at big clubs. He's now managing a big club. He knows he needs to start getting results quickly.
How many of these big teams that they're playing are at home? Peter, have you moved on to what the teams, the games they've got coming up?
Of Aberdeen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice of you to ask that question.
I thought you were still on that page.
Well, I'm not on that page, but I will get on that page.
Because I don't think it's about when and where. I think it's a heavy defeat at home. I think if he comes up against one of the big sides he's got at home and he gets beat 3 or 4-0, that'll be the deciding factor.
Yeah, well, the next game he's got is Aberdeen against Hibs at Pittodrie.
Might be Saturday.
Then he's got Rangers away at Ibrox. Then he's got Hearts at home, Motherwell at home, and then they're away to Dundee United and Celtic.
But I would say the first 3 games will be the deciding point.
I think you're right. I think you know, the clock is ticking for me on this one. Thanks to so many people who've posted messages to us on our app, because the great thing about it is if you do miss the programme, you can watch it on the app at your leisure, on your phone, on your tablet, on your PC. And this one from, I think it might be Leo, I might get this right, Tommy, who's the tailor man. Tommy says, Rangers fans, we are so fickle. McGregor has earned us more points than anyone. Morelos has scored important goals and Gerrard has rejuvenated us. The criticism they received after Saturday's draw was bang out of order. Be careful what you wish for. The title will stay in Glasgow and probably be a Rangers-Celtic battle into the final weeks of the season, says Tommy.
I would agree with a lot of that. I think most Rangers fans would too. I think you could count in one hand probably the amount of high-profile mistakes Alan McGregor's made throughout the long years that he spent at Rangers. I think he's been a remarkable goalkeeper for them. I think he's come up time and time again with huge performances in big games. I think you can forgive one mistake, one error, and as we spoke about earlier, I think when you're looking at the chances Rangers created, I think you can point fingers in other directions. Morelos, I think too, is just proving his worth for what Rangers paid for him and for what they've got out of him. I don't think you could be overly critical.
Yeah, and let's not forget, Alan McGregor made a couple of good saves in the game as well. It just shows you how Gabs has got no real, kind of link with the fans at the moment, Tam, because he came in there and he says, by the way, a guy called Mark came up and said, he watches the show, can you give him a mention?
That's not his name.
It's not his name. Because he says, Peter, it was myself that approached Gabs. My name's Andy.
Oh, it's not far away.
Not Mark. I mean, honestly.
Sounds the same.
Great show, though. Andy, I am absolutely sorry about that, because you'd think somebody could remember somebody's name, Ruffy.
Yeah, you would have thought so.
Yeah, says the man who can't even pronounce Morelos. Anyway, apart from that, and this one here is my favourite, R Junior, who says, I can't wait to hear Tam's excuses for the Hibs result. So, without any further ado, Ali, let's get into it. Your team were ranked rotten.
Oh, hopeless. That was the worst I've seen Hibs in 2 or 3 seasons under Jack Ross. They were absolutely terrible from start to finish. No life, no hunger, no desire.
And you gave me pelters when I said to you at the start of the season, Nisbet doesn't do enough for me.
He's certainly not doing it at the moment. He's not had a good start of the season. He's got to get back to doing the basics better. He's got to get back to working hard because the fans are starting to get on his back a little bit, and it's because he's not working hard enough. And I'm not just singling him out. Listen, the whole team was poor. I think there was maybe 1 or 2 pass marks, Martin Boyle and maybe Jamie Murphy, who kept going and kept going to the end, but. In terms of the Hibs performance, and Jack, you'll probably hear in a minute, he absolutely slaughtered the players after the game. The Hibs supporters booed them off at half-time and full-time, and you're not going to get away with performances like that at Easter Road. Now the fans are back, 15,000 in. They'll not be slow in letting you know that that's not good enough. And to get beat 3-0 at home off Dundee United is a shocker.
Yeah, well, listen, he summed it up, Ruffy, with more than a few adjectives. He says, Jack Ross said the performance was lazy, slow, selfish, and desperately poor.
Yeah, I think Tam summed it up. To get beat 3-0 at home, is just shouldn't be on the cards with the results that they've been having and where they are, and they've got to be up there with that number of fans in the stadium. And sometimes you get performances like that throughout the season, and you kind of put your finger on it why so many of them were poor. And he'll be hoping the next game is when they'll be judged because they can't continue to play like that. I worry about the boy Nisbet. He was up front himself, wasn't he? And I think he needs a striker beside him. I think he needs a runner run about him.
The problem with Hibs was recruitment in January, at the start of the season. They needed to bring in another forward, and they didn't do that. Maybe that's why Graham Matthew's not there any longer. Kevin Nisbet is not playing well at this point in time, but Doidge is out injured. James Scott's come in and not done it. Not been good enough so far, and he's nobody else. He's got young boy Jamie Gullen there, who I don't think he fancies. So he's got to play Nisbet. He can't drop him because he's nobody else there. So that's the problem. And Ruffy's right. You need to play 2 up front, but Hibs went 2 up front at half time. Scott Allen was poor as well. Get hooked at half time, and James Scott went up front with Nisbet, and Edwards and Mulgrew at the back had a cigar out. They're untroubled at the back, and. He's got a lot to ponder, Jack Ross, this week.
Well, if people are looking at it and saying, "Oh, what are you all talking about Hibs for?" Let's flip it. Let's talk about the positives, which is Dundee United, because Tam Courts is certainly endearing himself to the United fans. They are absolutely loving it. They're third, they're 3 points just behind Rangers, 5 games unbeaten on the road. It's all looking good.
I think they've got the best defensive record as well in the league. I think they've conceded the fewest amount of goals, if memory serves me correctly. But I think it's such a turnaround. I think when he got the job, I think there were people, Dundee United fans were irked by it. It wasn't the name that they wanted, felt as though they didn't have the experience to come in and take it. I think he's done a remarkable job in such a short space of time. I think the start to the season almost guarantees him a fairly robust campaign, unless there's a disaster now. You would fancy that they're well on course for a top 6 finish minimum this season. I think that you'd be delighted if you're a Dundee United fan just now. There's just so much to be pleased about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well done to Dundee United. 3 good goals they scored as well, to be fair to them. Elsewhere, Ross County 2, St Mirren 3. It's because you actually started to back them on Friday. It all went pear-shaped. Yeah. But St Mirren scored a good couple of goals to take the lead in that game. Yeah,
they did. And they're in a good vein of form as well. You know, they've got a good... Confidence is high, they're going there. They're getting a wee break here and there, but they thoroughly deserve to win. And Malky's must be scratching his head. I saw clips of him in the highlights standing at the side, and every goal that went in, with where he's been and what he's done in the game, he's just stood there shaking his head. He just couldn't believe, you know, amateurish goals that they're losing. And if you continue to lose goals like that, you're not going to win games.
Yeah, 6 games unbeaten. It's a good run St Mirren are on.
They're on a great run. You know, at a poor start of the season, a lot of people were tipping St Mirren this season to be top 6, and that wasn't looking likely after the first 4 or 5 games. But to be fair, they're on a great run of form. Great result, as Ruffy said. The goals at Ross County, the third goal was under 12 stuff. You know, the boy lets it run the centre, just go and header it, and he tries to dummy it and to get through to the goalkeeper. And that, you know, after getting back into the game at 2-1, you know, that goes to 3-1, and that absolutely kills Ross County. And but great goal from Brophy. I like Brophy. I think he's looking sharp. He scored a great goal against Hibs. Left foot, bang, it's at top corner. And my brother-in-law and my friend were up at the game. They're St Mirren fans, so they had a great trip up to Dingwall and back down after winning 3-2. So everything they're talking about, they're going to be thundering up that league now, St Mirren. So watch this space.
Well, the dreaded thing for Jim Goodwin is if Tony Fitzpatrick comes out and says St Mirren should win the league. That's when you know the cat's among the pigeons. Listen, we're talking about howlers from the defence. It doesn't get any better than St Johnstone 0, Livingston 3. We're all sitting here on Friday thinking, wonder if we could get a good 15 or 17 points in the predictor. I didn't predict that, but the defending was, I mean, did you see the goalkeeper's kick out for the centre half? It was ridiculous.
It was some of the goals, the cheapness of the goals, I'm sure would have had Callum Davidson just utterly furious after the game. But I'd never have seen it coming. I don't think many of us would have, for Livingston to go up and score 3 goals and come away with such a convincing win. But I just thought the performance from St Johnstone, they never looked capable of coming back at all. Again, I only saw highlights, but from the minute they went behind, they just didn't look as though they were going to rouse themselves and get back into the game.
Yeah, I wonder if we're all going to be changing our minds shortly on their predictions for winning the league. Who's going to finish second? Who's going to finish second bottom? Who's getting relegated? Here's the table as it stands. I picked Livingston to get relegated. I'm going to stick with that. I just feel that Ross County, I think, Ruffy, I picked to be in the playoff place. And it's early days. There's a lot of toing and froing to go.
Yeah, I think Ross County and Livingston will be the 2 that will be there for most of the season. I can't see them getting out of that. Obviously, Dundee will be encouraged by that result at the weekend. It's amazing, isn't it? You get a good win and you're still sitting second bottom of the league.
Exactly. Listen, the other great thing about a Monday is we get to see Gabriel Antoniazzi's Team of the Week.
Craig Gordon made a magnificent triple save in the first half to help Hearts on their way to a point against Rangers. Kieran Freeman has been excellent for United this season and showed his fitness levels and desire to score the 3rd goal at Easter Road. Craig Halkett got his head on a fumbled corner and sent the Jambers faithful wild at Ibrox. Scott Tanzer scored straight from a goal kick and he was up and down all day for the Buddies as they won up in Dingwall. Scott Pittman was everywhere for Livingston. He got his reward with the 3rd goal as Livy stunned St Johnstone. John Lundstrom was Rangers' best player by far and he's really come onto a game in blue and white. Charlie Adam returned to the Dundee team and helped them win their first game of the season as he ran the show in midfield. Ethan Erdogan assisted the Saints first as part of an accomplished and complete performance. Bruce Anderson scored 1 and assisted the other 2 Livy goals, ready to pounce on any error from the opposition defence. Nicky Clark scored a beauty at Easter Road to get United on their way to their most impressive result this season. Jota was Celtic's best player yet again, scoring the opener and setting up the second, whilst constantly getting into goal-scoring positions.
What do you make of that, Tam? Are you happy with that?
Certainly no Hibs players deserve to win it, but I thought that Charlie Mulgrew on Saturday was absolutely outstanding.
Yeah.
He had a great performance, so I'm surprised that he's not in it. And there's only he's got 2 Dundee United players in there. I thought there might have been a couple more.
Yeah, I thought he would have put Mulgrew in ahead of Tanzer. Maybe he was just trying to be fair. But Charlie did have the cigars out, to be fair, Ruffy.
Yeah, I thought the big boy Edwards was good as well.
Yeah.
He was super. Tansworth, I got a sample of him at the beginning of the season when we played them. I think he's a right good player.
Yeah.
Good fullback who gets forward and puts in good balls. So
Ruffy, to hell with it. We should have just made it 11 Dundee United players, shouldn't we?
Oh, with that result.
Yeah. should have been.
I'm pleased the wee boy Declan Glass. I saw he played at the weekend. He played with us and got a terrible injury. He's out for 6 months, and all of a sudden he's appeared. He's a super wee player. He's one to keep your eye on.
Yeah, you've heard it here. Ali, you're still out in front, but boy, I mean, I don't think you expected to still be extending your lead, because we all had an absolute nightmare at the weekend. But look at you there. You're on 84, I'm on 73, then Hugh McDonald's on 72, it's Ruffy on 67, Tam McManus on 61, which is quite a big drop down to Tam McManus, and then Gabriel Antoniazzi's on 56. He hasn't quite worked out the algorithm. What's your view on that predictor league table, Alison?
I think it looks good.
It was a bad weekend for everybody. I don't think too many.
I've had 2 bad weekends. I think I need to up my game just to get this wrapped up by Christmas.
Brilliant. She's sounding like Tony Fitzpatrick already. Anyway, quite a few messages coming in just before we go, guys. Ruffy always has a smile on his face every time Partick Thistle get a victory at the weekend, and rightly so. Well done to the Jags on Friday night. 6-1. It was top drawer for Thistle. Does Ruffy think Ian McCall can take Partick to the Premiership? There's a question, Ruffy. What's your answer?
I would hope so, yeah. I think he's got a lot of experience getting promotion. I think we need to help him a wee bit in January, and that's why we'll be phoning that boy Anderson. No, I think the boys are playing well. And I like Friday night football, because if you get a win, it's a great weekend. It's an extra Saturday, Sunday to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, we enjoyed ourselves, Tam, because we were there. We
did.
Myself, Tam, of course, Craig Young, your mate and mine, Craigie and Charlie Adam. We were sitting there incognito down in the front, no starter, main course or suite, but nevertheless...
I did actually text Ruffy at the start. It says, you can get us into the boardroom, and I never got a reply, so he absolutely patched us.
The one good thing about Ruffy is he will kid on that he's your pal in a situation like this, because we're all here, talking about football. Outside that, he would walk past you in the supermarket. There's no chance.
And then he phoned me straight after the game.
It's very difficult to reply when you're having a wee prawn sandwich and a wee glass of champagne.
I have to tell you, I didn't see 6, but it was a good game. We enjoyed it.
It was. Listen, I'm devastated. As Stuart Taylor's my big pal, and the first game I went down and watched him. I think that might be my last, because they've not spoke to me since. Partick Thistle were superb in the second half. I've got to give them massive credit. Wee boy Tiffany was superb. And 6-1, great result, and Kilmarnock drew at the weekend. Partick Thistle are written round about it, and if they can play like that every week, they'll certainly score a lot of goals, and I think they'll be up challenging for the title.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a good one here from David who says, could it be Partick Thistle versus Aberdeen next season in the Championship? This would be a disaster for the club. Don't forget, Peter, once you've been relegated, it's never easy to bounce straight back up, as Dundee United obviously found out to their cost. But David, I think you're jumping the gun there, because if Aberdeen were in the relegation spot, there would be a WhatsApp group set up immediately, and then a franchise-style league table would operate in the American way to try and save people from getting relegated.
You will know when things are bad up in Aberdeen when you see these NFL goalposts get up behind the goal.
Absolutely. And Liam says, Hibs desperately need Christian Doidge back. Nisbet is far too lazy to be up top on his own. James Scott was a panic buy and not good enough time to give young Josh O'Connor a shot.
Yep, that's big Gary O'Connor's boy. He's doing well in the reserves by all accounts. Striker. Listen, it might just be that you get a wee spark for something like that. A young boy coming in. The Hibs supporters love to see young boys coming through, and listen, it might be time for you maybe a couple of younger boys a wee opportunity.
Yeah, Robert McFarlane says, hi guys, Nisbet is never worth 4 million as has been claimed. 1 million if you're lucky. Robert, let's not jump the gun on this. Let's wait till Wednesday when Charlie Adam will give us the exact fee for Nisbet. Charlie will probably have him at 350 grand, Ali, and completely kick him right out into touch. So thanks to all the people for sending as many messages as possible. Some good things to talk about, of course. One of them comes out of the English Premier League at the weekend. I don't know if you've seen it on YouTube or you watched it in Match of the Day, but Mo Salah's goal for Liverpool was just a work of art. It was genius from him. And here's how Liverpool's result fared in all the other English Premier League scores from the weekend. Only one match still to play. But it was Watford 0, Liverpool 5. Southampton defeated Leeds by 1-0. Nothing between Norwich and Brighton. Aston Villa 2, Wolves 3 with a late winner for Wolves. Leicester 4, Manchester United 2. That's why we have Ollie on our sack race graphic. Man City 2, Burnley 0. Brentford 0, Chelsea 1. Everton 0, West Ham 1, good result for Moisey, and Newcastle 2, Tottenham 3, and it's Arsenal against Crystal Palace tonight. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said that he made the decision to bring Maguire back into the team, but I think Maguire back in backfired.
It was my decision to play Harry. He's worked really hard with on the rehab with the physios, and he looked ready. He didn't feel any after effects. He trained with us. He looked sharp. He's a big, massive player for us. He's so important. He's the captain. He's the leader. We want to bring him back as soon as we can because he's been so influential in our play.
I don't know about you, Ali. I look at managers and always like to give them time, but I think the clock is ticking louder maybe now for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
I would agree with you. I think results just haven't been good enough. I think it's not a club where you're going to have ample amount of time now to get it right. I think performances aren't reflective of the quality within the squad. I think they're underperforming, and I think if it continues in the same vein, then I think there'll be a vacancy at Old Trafford.
Yeah, I wonder who'll take that job. There's always good runners and riders, Tam, isn't there? I mean, Antonio Conte is a name that won't go away. Brendan Rodgers surely couldn't go from being a Liverpool manager to being a Manchester United manager. Surely that couldn't happen.
I think that could happen. I think that was a great addition for Brendan at the weekend, beating Man United. And I think you'll probably find an old picture of Brendan Rodgers in a Man United strip come to light.
Last week you said to me it was the only job he wanted at Newcastle. Now it's Man United.
I think Brendan will be looking at a few jobs.
Could you see that, Ruffy?
Yeah, I think he's got done in the Premiership. Obviously, he's got a good record there. But I've said this numerically. Big teams go for big managers. I know he's not a big manager new, but Ranieri, why have they picked him? To dig them out of the hole because he's done it. He's been there, and I think that's what they go for. I think they go for Champions League winners. You go for the history the clubs have been out, whether it's Juve or whoever.
Yeah,
I think that's what these big clubs need to have, that kind of manager. I'm not saying it's going to work, but that's what they tend to go for.
I think it was a huge mistake appointing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because he didn't have the CV that everybody's talking about that you need for clubs of that stature. One man who was speaking at the weekend was talking about just what we were discussing there, the goals. You see some special goals and you think to yourself, how many players can actually execute going past three players and then sidestepping another and curling it into the back of the net. Jurgen Klopp thinks Mo Salah is the best player in the world right now.
Sure, one of the best in the world now, and it's obviously not about me or whatever to say who is the best. For me, he's the best. I see him every day. That makes it maybe more easy for me. But there are Mr. Lewandowski out there, stuff like this. Ronaldo still scoring like crazy. Messi still putting out performances on world-class level. So Mbappe, all these kind of things, and others will come. But yes, in this moment, he's for sure on top of that list.
Yeah, don't think we can argue. He's certainly in the top 5. I'd written down Karim Benzema because I think he's been magnificent. Erling Haaland, you can't ever discount him. Lewandowski, as Klopp mentioned, Messi and Ronaldo. Messi to a lesser extent, probably. I don't think
would add Jonathan Tiffany in that list after Friday.
Yeah, Friday, Tiffany. Yeah, what do you think, Ruffy?
No, you don't want to talk him up. He'll be banging the door doing like that money.
Yeah, Tiffany plays for Party Thistle, by the way. Anyway, 2 quick things before we go. Scotland have been given 294 tickets for the away game in Moldova. Not exactly a tartan army, more just a light infantry.
It's an odd number. Precise. Bizarre number.
Yeah, it is. It's a crazy one, isn't it? But, Ruffy, obviously you'll have about a good 288 of them, surely.
No, I think there'll be more. Tartan Army will go to that.
Yeah.
They won't get in, obviously, but they'll be there.
Yeah.
They'll be on their way.
And one little negative, England's next 2 games will be behind closed doors because of all the trouble in the European Championships, and they've got a £100,000 fine as well. So that more or less sums it up, apart from one little bit of good news. The SPFL is releasing £3.6 million of vital funds.
Yes.
Look at Ruffy shaking his head because he knows the money is coming to all 42 clubs. You're getting a wee cheque from the SPFL.
It was a surprise. The Texans were out this morning. The drums were beaten, and it was money that I don't think anybody thought was coming out early. So, yep, let's see how it gets divided.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody
Well, everybody get an equal share of that.
Well, let's
Everyone.
see. I don't know. Let's see.
All right, well, you've got they'll be on a WhatsApp group. Hello, Dundee. Hello, Dundee. What did you get? But anyway, apart from that, just spare a thought at this point with SPFL releasing these funds. If that money goes into the kitty at Hearts, James Anderson then adds 9.5 million. Hearts could still win that league.
He's desperate for Hearts to win the league.
You never know.
They moved to Mars.
Absolutely. Thanks to Ali, Ruffy, Tam, and from myself, Peter Martin. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.